Good evening, baseball fans, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have a lot of baseball to get to tonight, and of course, joining me is my co-host who hockey season is almost over with, so hopefully he'll have a little bit more time for baseball. It is Freddie B. Good evening,
Hey,
sir.
Mike, how are you? And happy birthday! Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you. Yes, it is my birthday, viewers. So this is the perfect time for you to tune in and listen to us because it is my birthday. That is my ask. And of course, if you are a fan of the show, please do follow us on social media. You can follow yours truly at IESR_DMV, and you can follow Freddie at FreddieB_sports. Like I said, hockey is now done as of yesterday. So probably one more wrap-up episode of the Neutral Zone, and then you'll get a nice little break from that.
I hope. Yeah, it's winding down. We've got we'll recap, the Stanley Cup, and we'll talk about the upcoming draft and stuff like that. And then,
very nice.
Yeah, and then it'll wind down for about a month and a half, and then we'll get right back into it in September.
Yeah, hockey has this amazingly quick turnaround. It's always shocking. Like the season ends, and then you have the draft, free agency, and then the next season begins. Like it really is that quick of a turnaround from end of the Stanley Cup to beginning of the next season. Really, the quickest turnaround I think of the four major sports.
Well, yeah, because you think about it, the playoffs are 2 months long. For the teams that don't make the playoffs, they get that extra 2 months of rest. But a team like the Vegas Golden Knights or the Hurricanes, who just won this thing, it's a quick turnaround for them. Yes, and that's why it's so hard to win Lord Stanley's Trophy.
Indeed. I imagine even harder to win it back to back. You start the next season so tired.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's enough hockey talk. This is a baseball show, and it's June. We shouldn't be talking about winter sports. First, of course, it is Monday night, so we do have some live games going. Actually, quite a jam-packed evening of baseball games. We do have one final that just went in the books, literally just now. The Nationals finished up a victory over the Kansas City Royals, 7-3. Where I'm actually going to talk about the Nationals a little bit later on in our weekly recap. They have been playing some great baseball over the last week or so. Other games going right now, we've got the Phillies are beating the Marlins 7-0. That one in the top of the ninth as the Phillies look to finish that one off. They've been in control pretty much all game there. You got the Reds are beating the Mets 9-0, that one in the top of the seventh. We've got the Cardinals beating the Padres 3-0. That one is in the top of the seventh.
Padres just got their first hit, Mike.
Who just? Oh, the Padres did.
Yeah.
Well, time to yank the pitcher. Got the first hit. He's done. Moving on. Looks like Dustin May, which I did not expect Dustin May to go no-hitter through 6 in 2026, but hey, here we are. We got the Cubs and Rockies facing off. We got the Cubs leading 1-0. That one in the bottom of the fifth. The Twins are beating the Rangers 3-2. That one also in the bottom of the fifth. And the Tigers are leading the Astros 5-3. That one just finished up the third inning. Later on tonight, we've got the Angels against the Diamondbacks facing off in the desert. We've got the Pirates and the Athletics in Vegas, what they call the Little League Vegas ballpark. With how short the falls are and how far that ball has been flying out of there. And then the Rays facing off against the Dodgers, battle of some powerhouses. That one kicks off at about 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. So let's move into some headlines. Earlier today, the early results for the MLB All-Star voting are in. We've got Shohei Ohtani leading all voters, not surprising, across any position across the league. He is the most votes. In the American League, the leader is Yordan Alvarez, and a pretty interesting mix of guys looking up and down the list. Some very popular names, some names that may not have been expected on the leaderboard. So, Freddie, what are some of your initial thoughts here and maybe a couple of surprises to you?
Always up there, I think, for votes is Mike Trout. He's second right now to Aaron Judge for outfielders in the American League. But Mike Trout has earned this All-Star vote this year. He's had a bounce back season. So that's a big surprise, is to see him, still down there behind Judge. But Trout, 900,000 votes already up there. He's definitely going to make it. You know what? I like the pick of Shane Langoliers. He's just running away with catchers in the American League. He's having a fantastic season. Obviously, Yordan Alvarez, what he's done. Close matchup between two guys. Played, Freddie Freeman, a former Brave, Matt Olson, who is the Brave. Votes, only separated by about 70,000 right now. So NL first base is a tight race. That's what I'm looking forward to see who's going to come away with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good race. I agree with you on Langoliers, a catcher for the American League. And by the way, Larry B jumping in the chat. Thank you for the birthday wishes, sir. But yeah, I agree with Langoliers. But what I thought was interesting, second place in the American League is Alejandro Kirk, which Ricky K jumping in the chat and actually, chiming in with my thought. A lot of Blue Jays very high up on the leaderboards early on, but Alejandro Kirk in second place, despite what, if I recall, only playing, and I have to confirm this, in like 7 games so far.
Yeah, he got that injury.
Yeah, he got that injury. Yeah, so 7 games so far, and he is over the likes. Third places right now is Adley Rutschman, who admittedly was injured for a little bit himself, but still having a phenomenal season, both offensively and defensively. So I thought that was a little bit surprising. And then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. leading at first base over top of Nick Kurtz, who's having a phenomenal year. And as Ricky puts out, Ben Rice as well for the Yankees.
Yeah.
But Guerrero not nearly having the season that A, the other two are having, or B, we're accustomed to for him. So a bit of a surprise there.
Don't forget Kazuma Okamoto. He's second right now for third baseman voting, 60,000 behind Junior Caminero of the Rays.
Yeah, and he's having an incredible season as well. Some of these, not surprising. Bobby Witt Jr. for shortstop in the American League. You can probably pencil that one in for the next several years here. Like you said, Judge and Trout, no surprises there. Alvarez having an amazing season. No shocker there. I am happy to see CJ Abrams of the Nationals getting his duly earned respect for shortstop in the National League. However, another National, I got to say, is being pretty spurned right now, and that is James Wood having the phenomenal season that he is with 20 home runs and a 970 OPS, not in the top 3 in the National League. Andy Pages, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Brandon Marsh leading there. Now, Pages and Marsh, I get it. Pages had that phenomenal start to the season that he had, and then Marsh has been a hitting machine. So those two, I get being 2 of the spots, but Acuna, I don't know about that one.
That's what comes down to the fan voting, though. That's where there's always going to be that issue, because you could make a great case for Jordan Walker to be an all-star right now as well. And then you have Mookie Betts, coming, for in shortstop right now. Is that right? He's right behind.
No, CJ Abrams.
He's right behind CJ Abrams.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, CJ Abrams still holds the shortstop spot. Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy making it, although both of them are having pretty good seasons. So I'm okay with that. Although I'm sure if I took a good look down the first baseman in the National League, we could probably find somebody who's outplaying Freddie Freeman at the moment. But yes, so the second phase of fan voting will determine the starting position players, and that begins at noon on June 29th. This phase is open until June 25th, so we still have 10 days of voting on the first phase. What that does is basically, it's the top 2, if I recall correctly, at each position in the second phase. That will basically be a vote, and the winner of the vote gets the start, and the loser gets the reserve, and then pitchers get selected by the coaching staff. So no voting on pitchers, which I mean, we could probably name the guys who would get those votes anyways. Brian Francione jumping in the chat, wishing me happy birthday again. Thank you, sir. The Red Sox have given him plenty to whine about. The Red Sox are part of a special segment that we are going to end the show with. So stick around for that, Brian. Yes, Ellie De La Cruz being hurt probably does weaken the shortstop position a little bit there. Although Abrams, at least offensively, has had a phenomenal season. Now, defensively, yeah, hasn't always been the greatest, but offensively, yes, having a phenomenal year so far. Yep. So those are the early results of the fan vote. I'm sure not next week, but the following week, we will get a little bit more in-depth look at the final results of the first wave. And then, of course, that will be the day that they kick off the second wave of voting there.
You know what the MLB should do? It was like 7 or 8 years ago now that the NHL did. Everybody vote. There was everybody was on board to vote for John Scott, who was like a fourth line guy, played very little minutes, was a goon, but he ended up getting so many votes that he was voted into the All-Star game. MLB should do that for somebody like hitting like $150, just having a terrible season, who's just a veteran of the league, has never been good, but they should get voted into the All-Star game. I think we should make a campaign to do that for somebody next year, Mike.
Right, that could be like the Salvador Perez or somebody like that. Somebody who's
That's
just
good.
Yeah, he's got like a 590 OPS though this year.
This year, yeah.
This year, yeah. Or are you talking like lifetime like utility backup type guy?
Yes, exactly. Okay. A guy who would have never gotten a sniff.
Gotcha. Yeah, somebody like maybe like a Ryan Flaherty type for the Orioles. Somebody who spot in every here and there. That would be fun. I would love to see that. Just like a couple of just random dudes that are just happy to be here that have no business being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's make it
absolutely. Well, moving on to our next headline, we had a little bit of drama in a series that I don't think many people expected there to be drama in. But this past weekend with the Orioles versus Padres, on Saturday, there were a couple of incidents. So the beginning of it came when, which was the player? You might have to correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Tatis?
That got hit?
Yeah. The Padres hitter who got hit first by
Xander Bogaerts was hit in the head.
Xander Bogaerts. I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah, so Xander Bogaerts got hit by a pitch from Orioles rookie pitcher Trey Gibson, which, I am biased, admittedly, as an Oriole player, as an Oriole fan, but I feel just looking at it, it definitely looked like just a pitch that got away from him.
I think it was either a batter before that. I think it was Sheets who was up, and he almost got hit with a pitch that was high and tight, and then Bogaerts did get hit, like you were saying.
Gotcha. So we had that hit by pitch, which sparked a little bit of reaction from the Padres. Again, rookie pitcher who didn't have his best stuff all game anyway, so I'm not entirely surprised that he had some command issues here and there. So fast forward to the 7th inning, the Padres relief pitcher, I forget which one it was, Rodriguez, I want to say it was.
Bradley Rodriguez.
Yeah, Bradley Rodriguez throws inside on Gunnar Henderson twice in one at-bat. And then fast forward to the 9th inning, relief pitcher Marinaccio, I'm going to go with that pronunciation, actually hits Gunnar with a pitch that seemed pretty intentional. I mean, it's always tough to tell, really, but it did seem like the goal there, especially his reaction, was to hit him. Now, in response to the 2 inside pitches and then being hit, Marinaccio is ejected, and then when manager Craig Stammen comes out, he gets ejected. And by the way, this is with 2 outs in the 9th of like a 5-run game, right? So this isn't, a moment where like it's going to completely change the course of history. It didn't. The Padres went on to win. Well, now today, the league came out and suspended Marinaccio for 3 games. and also suspended Craig Stammen for
Yes.
one game. Now, Marinaccio is a relief pitcher. Realistically, 3 games. I mean, not a massive gap of time to be out a relief pitcher. And then the manager 1 game, it is what it is. But I thought it was interesting. Yes, the ejection's fair, but the suspensions were a bit of a surprise. What were your thoughts on that part of it, Freddie?
I don't know. I don't remember them really warning either of the dugouts when Bradley Rodriguez came in close. I don't remember seeing that. And then you could say, yeah, I don't know why they were targeting Gunnar, because that's who they were throwing at in the 7th. I understand going after him immediately after Bogaerts.
Right.
I guess they were just going for the top player. But yeah, I mean, and then, like you said, Stammen suspended as well. Bench coach Randy Knorr is managing the ball club tonight for the team in St. Louis. So, yeah, I think it's just one of those things, like you can't argue after you've lost a challenge or something like that, where it's an automatic ejection. That's probably what it was, arguing the fact. And Craig Stammen too. There was a cool video. John Boy Media. He does all the voiceover videos and stuff like that. Well, Stammen was talking to the umpires with his hand over his mouth the whole time, so he wasn't able to get any lip reading done that way. So that was kind of fun.
You could check out John that video. Boy Media effect right there.
That's exactly what that was. I think
John Boy to make a video of this. All right,
I think that's basically what he had told him. He's like, I'm not going to show you when I'm talking, but yeah. And it's not like these teams play each other or there's any kind of bad blood between them, other than the fact that they've got guys that have. A lot of Padres are former Orioles, but that's about it.
And there's but also not in an animalistic way. Like no Orioles, fans that I know of, or at least logical ones, have bad blood towards Manny Machado, for example. Nobody has bad blood towards Ramon Laureano. In fact, everybody wishes Ramon Laureano was still on the team. So I thought it's interesting that things kind of boiled over like that. I get the ejection because they threw at the twice in the 7th, and then if you're gonna hit him, just hit him in the 7th. Just do it and be done with it. And even the Orioles, the manager kind of came out and said, which was a reaction that the fans didn't want, but I kind of got where his point was. It's like, look, we hit their guy, we get it. They came back and hit us. It's done. Yeah. It's over. It's done. We move on with life. And I think even Gunnar was like that. He was like, yeah, I was mad, but, I get it. Everybody kind of understood the nature. But, throwing at someone 3 times, that's going to get you ejected.
Yeah, that for sure. But you know what? Things, settled down. It didn't carry over into Sunday's finale. Like I was saying, I was really hoping it was, because I was actually watching that game. And it didn't carry over. So, cooler heads did prevail. But, yeah, we haven't really seen many, bench clearing brawls this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and, if there was a player on the Orioles that would start a bench clearing brawl, Gunnar might be the guy. But, he kept it together, or, and some of the teammates some of the coaches came out and got him down the baseline too, I believe. So, overall, it is what it is. What shocked me is kind of the point you bring up is these aren't teams that have history. They don't hate each other. There's no bad blood that I'm aware of. I have great respect for Craig Stammen, obviously, former national relief pitcher. Sure. So, yeah, so interesting that this was the series where there was the drama. Could have been several other ones, but that was the one. But
yeah.
That was interesting.
It was a good series. And the Padres, Padres took 2 or 3 in that series. So they came.
Yes, and it was a good series. Both teams played some good games there. Absolutely. Moving on, some positive news though. Cal Raleigh is set to return for the Mariners tomorrow. He'd been out for a while with an injury. Obviously, Cal Raleigh had not been having the season he had been having since before going down with the injury in mid-May, but here we are a month later, and his return here comes.
That's huge because Seattle's lead in the American League West is only one game over the A's, the Las Vegas, Sacramento A's, whatever you want to call them, and the Rangers right now. So getting the big dumper back in the lineup, Seattle needs that right now as their lead in the West is slipping away.
Yep, absolutely. Now, interesting fact, prior to injury, Raleigh had only had 2 hits in his previous 44 at-bats.
Yeah.
So he had been on quite the cold streak. Now he did actually, he started out really cold to start the season, and he had stretches of April where you're like, okay, he's starting to figure out. He had a stretch of 7 games where he had 5 home runs, and brought his OPS back up into the 700s, which is respectable given where it was. So you wonder, you have to ask the question, and I'll ask the question. Does he return back to form? Is got to be the big question.
I don't know. He started like the season so bad. He does have 7 home runs now in the year, but only hitting 161. They need him to get that bat going again. And you don't know what this injury did to him, physically as well. It may take, a homestand or so to get back into the flow of things, seeing major league pitching again. But Seattle definitely needs him to get, even if he was 3/4 of the guy he was last year, they need to get him back to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even 75% of last year's Cal Raleigh, that would still be about 45 home runs. So, yeah, that would be really good to get that guy back there for sure.
Yeah, the Mariners need a lot of guys hitting the ball right now too, though. That's just a team that is having a hard time.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Looking at it, they are actually, among the West. You're right. They actually have the second fewest runs scored of any team in the West. Only the Rangers have fewer. So yeah, they definitely need to get the bats going, which leads us nicely to our week in review, where we take a look back at this past week and which teams are hot and which teams have maybe gone a little cold. I'm going to steal the lead on this one because I want to make sure I snatch one before you snatch them from me. I got to give some credit to the Nationals.
Okay.
Very strong recent showing. They've won 3 in a row now with their victory over Kansas City, 7 of their last 10. And just, and beating teams, they beat the Diamondbacks, very solid team. The Mariners, very solid team. They semi-recently took 2 of 3 from the Padres. So it's been a little bit of up and down, but man, this offense has been firing on all cylinders. They have their record despite having given up the 3rd most runs in baseball. Which, the pitching staff as a whole has been a problem, and they expected it to be a problem. But I don't think what most people expected was for the offense to be so good and so potent. They lead the league in runs scored.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, out of them at all.
For the offense to be that good, James Woods having a phenomenal season, 974 OPS, 20 home runs, 46 RBI, also 17 doubles as well. So just getting extra base hits. Almost half of his hits have been extra base hits. CJ Abrams is having a good year. Plus just random little contributions from different guys. Catcher Keibert Ruiz, who most fans and analysts had written off after last year, is having an excellent season. Luis Garcia Jr. At first base has randomly hit 9 home runs. Curtis Mead out of nowhere has hit 10 home runs for the team. So just lots of these random little pockets of production. And by the way, all of this has been without great production from former number 2 overall pick Dylan Cruz, who was supposed to be one of the main guys this year. And he's out here with a sub 200 batting average. Now, he did have a 3-run home run tonight. So, you hope that, but if he picks it up, I mean, this offense is top to bottom is going to be scary.
It could be, man. The Braves you think at some point are going to have a little bit of a skid, where the Nationals can make a little ground. I think that their biggest chance is obviously trying to get into the wild card right there. And I think they have a great chance at this point if they can continue to hit the ball the way that they are. Maybe bring an arm or two in at the trade deadline. I don't even know if they were even looking to make any moves to add pieces, but they could be in a spot where that might be something they can do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If possible, a true top of the line starter, which is obviously easier said than done. But I mean, that might be one of the missing pieces. Or heck, just go out and really stock up the bullpen. Maybe make it so your bullpen's indestructible. Because right now both facets are kind of lagging behind. So if you can fix one of them without too
Sure.
much trouble, that would be beneficial. Also, the Phillies still playing really good. In the same division, both of those teams are doing their best. They're slowly creeping up to Atlanta there, trying to close that gap. And then I also wanted to highlight there was, unfortunately, it pains me to highlight this team, but the Yankees having a really good stretch here. They've scraped together some wins, retaken the division lead from the Rays, who had it for a while. And of course, they continue to grow their gap from Toronto, Baltimore, and Boston, which of course we know with those teams, the sooner you can proverbially put your foot on their throat and take them out of the competition, the better it is.
Yeah, I like all of those, Mike. The biggest thing for me here, we're talking about the Chicago White Sox in first place right now, 70 games into the season. They were nowhere on my radar. And Colin Montgomery, with that walk-off bomb, that was awesome to see him. I mean, they're getting great. They're playing really well. They're tied right now with Cleveland in the Central. The only team in the Central with positive run differential. So, Chicago is surprising, and they could be, another team that could be dangerous as we get later into this season. I wanted to really talk about the A's for a minute because they had one of the craziest weeks, having a 6-game series in Vegas where they hit 20 home runs. And they go 4-2 in that series, including, taking 2 of 3 from the Brewers, which was huge. And I mean, offensively, they put up huge numbers. You're getting like guys like Zach Geloff now, who has a hitting streak of 18 games. Tyler Soderstrom, he homered. He has a on base streak of 23 games. Nick Kurtz, he has an on base streak of 18 games. The guys on Oakland, I keep calling them Oakland, on the Athletics. Maybe this could be something that they can, start building, and they can creep back and take the lead in the American League West. They've been doing great. And I talk about the Brewers for a minute. Jacob Mizorowski this week, 15 strikeouts. Give me a freaking break. We keep talking about him.
Louise.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, I just hope he stays healthy. We've seen this so many times with the guys that have those arms. Even Corbin Burns, who was a former Brewer, he had that fantastic couple of seasons to start his career, and then he can't stay healthy anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I hope Mizorowski can stay healthy because he is a fun one to watch, and that was the Phillies that he masterclassed. Yeah, with that 15 strikeout shutout performance. I mean, outstanding.
Yeah, it's a great lineup. And yeah, no, it seems like every week we give him praise and then he turns around and does something better than he did the week before. It's absolutely absurd. By the way, you mentioned, the White Sox, and this has been a statistic that I've been keeping half an eye on because it's really fascinating to me. So, we're all familiar, all of us good baseball fans are familiar with the 3 true outcome hitter, home runs, walk, strikeout, right? Those are your 3 true outcomes. Well, Munetaka Murakami continues to fully embrace that role as I look at his numbers. So overall for the season, he has 246 plate appearances, which is, by the way, is phenomenal. It's great numbers for him coming over in his first full season. Of those 246, 144 of them, about 58.5%, have ended in a home run, walk, or a strikeout.
I know.
Absolutely. He's just embraced.
He's not quite to the Schwarber level or even the James Wood level at this point, but he is close.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely doing that. And now you bring it up, and now I'm going to look at Kyle Schwarber's numbers here. So let's see. So 311 plate appearances for Schwarber. He has 174 of them have been a walk, a home run, or a strikeout. So if we do the math really quick on that one, that is 56%. So he's actually above the Kyle Schwarber level
on the
three true outcomes.
Okay, now we're talking. We're gonna have to keep this going all season long to see who ends up winning this race.
Yeah, the race of the three true outcome hitter is hot as ever. You bring up the A's, and we brought up the Mariners a little bit earlier. I want to call out we did this earlier in the season with the American League Central, and a couple of teams seem to hear it and actually pick up their play. So I'm going to do it again with the American League West. Will one of you freaking get momentum and keep it? Like, goodness gracious, every time it seems like one of them starts to creep up and is like, oh, the Athletics are going to run away, and they fall back down. Oh, and the Mariners are going to run with it, and they fall back down. And the Rangers are going to come back, and they fall back down. The only team that hasn't had any momentum, actually, that's a lie. The Angels even had momentum at one point.
Yeah, they were 2-0 to start the season. Yeah.
Back when Soriano had a .24 ERA through his first 5 starts, that's when the Angels had the momentum, and then they came back down although I don't know if they're ever going to get that momentum back. Although, I say that, and right now they have the best record in the last 10 games of anybody in the division. So
that's great. You know what? Out of those 3 that you mentioned, Seattle, Texas, and the A's, to me, that's who I want to see, because I think they're the most youthful team, the most exciting team. They got guys who can nail the ball. And we're not even talking about, guys, their pitching at all. Their pitching has been very good as well. So I really like the A's. If I'm going to root for somebody in the AL West, that's the team I want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, maybe another team kind of like the Nationals, if they can just find that front of the line starter, that guy who can hold it down every time through. There are probably a couple of guys who are, on non-competitive teams that are going to make the trade market very interesting coming up here in about a month and a half for the trade deadline. One of them is in their division. I imagine Soriano might be, one of those guys, although I don't think they're going to trade him to a division rival. That would feel probably a little bit.
No, I don't think they do that. But yeah, the AL West is going to be close.
Absolutely. Well, before we take our break here, we're going to take a look at some of the upcoming matchups here coming up. Obviously, we have some series starting tonight with this round of games, including, like we noted, a very good one with the Rays and the Dodgers. But looking ahead through the week and then to the weekend, Freddie, what are some of the matchups that you are seeing here for the week ahead?
Well, obviously, the Rays and Dodgers takes the cake for the early games of the week. You've got the Rays, who just dropped out of first, but they're still atop in the AL East against the Dodgers, who are, have an 8-game lead on the Padres right now. So that's a World Series rematch from 5 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah. The famous Blake Snell poll that everybody still talks about to this day.
Yeah. So obviously that one, it has got my attention, but for this weekend, I hope I don't steal this one from you, Mike, but it's got to be Milwaukee going into Atlanta. You got 2 first place teams.
That's a good one.
This could be a potential NL, playoff matchup right here with these 2 teams. They're both outstanding. I really enjoy watching those Brewers, man, guys like Bryce Terang are having big seasons, and Robinson Churio and all these guys really doing well. And then when you got the pitching, I mean, I don't know what the matchups are yet, but we could possibly have a Mizorowski, Chris Sale matchup. That would be fantastic.
Actually, that is the Friday night matchup.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Oh shit. that's out. You got 2 Cy Young candidates. Probably, I'm going to look at the Vegas odds right now, but I'm thinking the overall combined strikeouts between the two has got to be 20 plus.
Oh yeah, easily. Easily. And that's just Mizorowski. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, that is by far the best matchup for the weekend ahead, and I do not blame you for grabbing it. That is a phenomenal one. For the week, though, I want to look at this one. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. Not one you would normally highlight, the White Sox and the Yankees. The 2 division leaders in the American League, and I think people are probably still asking the question, how real are the White Sox? Like, is this a real run? Is this a team that is truly a contender? And I think, one of those series to test would be against, a team that is a contender, that is always tried and true. If you can beat the Yankees, generally speaking, you're going to have a pretty good season. That's usually a good barometer.
I like that. And tomorrow you've got a great matchup. You've got Davis Martin going up against Garrett Cole. So a fantastic pitching matchup tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Martin, very shocking, strong pitcher coming out for the White Sox so far this year. And then looking ahead, where's their match? There they go. I don't know who Anthony Kay is, but he's going against Carlos Rodon on Wednesday, and then Thursday they finish it up with Sean Burke versus Ryan Weathers. I do know Sean Burke. He's probably one of their second best pitchers. And then looking ahead to the weekend, yet not a ton of amazing choices, I will say, beyond the Milwaukee Tampa, but maybe, another team that people are trying to determine how real they are, Nationals and Rays. Facing off this weekend, the Rays, a team that I think a lot of people underestimated. I surely underestimated. I think we underestimated going into the season, having an excellent year. And the Nationals, with their high-powered offense, coming in, looking to see if they can show out against one of the better teams.
Who do we have pitching? Is Rasmussen pitching in this series?
No, the Nationals do dodge Rasmussen, although the Saturday starter is currently listed as undecided. So I'll be curious to see who they fill in there. But it'll be Miles Mikolas pitching for the Nationals, who just the other day pitched 7 scoreless. Did not think I would see that out of Mikolas. Right now, the best matchup, Friday night, Cade Cavalli versus Griffin Jacks. That's got to be your best matchup right there. And another matchup that is intriguing, because it's 2 teams that are probably, who were great last year, who are probably underachieving a bit right now. The Blue Jays and the Cubs.
Yeah, I think that's
2
fun.
teams that are underachieving so far. And looking to try to get back on track and back into these races. Both are kind of on the outside looking in, but not by much. Neither team is off by that much so far. So, you get a few wins, and, these are teams that, while they've struggled so far, let's be real, they're definitely on most people's short list of, hey, if these guys get on a roll, we don't want anything to do with them come October.
Absolutely. Both teams were obviously the Blue Jays were World Series, last year, and the Cubs won the division as well. They've both been there. They've got to have better second halves to the season. This series is being played in Chicago, Mike. I think this could be a really good series, as nobody's really talking about because of the records. But when you talk about, warmer temperatures in Chicago and you're playing at Wrigley, the ball's going to be flying. We could see a lot of home runs this weekend.
Absolutely. And then Sunday, pretty good matchup there. Dylan Cease versus Shota Imanaga. So that one showing up on Sunday. We got Dontarius jumping in the chat room. Hit the like button. Thank you, sir. And Brian Francione agrees with you. Braves Brewers definitely far and away, by the way, the marquee matchup this upcoming weekend. That is going to be a great series, especially like we said, Mizorowski and Chris Sale there on Friday night. Great way to start it. We are going to go ahead and take our first break here. When we come back, we are going to jump down into the minors and also check in on the World Series, which is going full swing right now. So do not go away. You are listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We, of course, are going to take our second quick score update here. We have a couple of games that have gone final. The Phillies did fold off the Marlins there 7-0. And by the way, you know, a guy who we did not mention and a guy who's maybe been overshadowed on the Phillies because of how well Chris Sanchez has been playing, Zach Wheeler. Turning in another quality start, 6 scoreless innings tonight. Since his return at the end of April, he has quality starts in, I'm doing quick math, 8 of 10 games. And in one of the games, the only reason it wasn't a quality start is because he gave up a 4th run there before he was yanked. So very, very strong performance for him and putting up amazing numbers, especially considering he's technically been Philadelphia's number 2 pitcher. You know, your number 2 pitcher has a 2.01 ERA. You know, that's just absolutely absurd. We also had the Cardinals went final. They beat the Padres 3-0. Sorry, Freddie. You know, it happens. It happens. It's okay. I'm here for you, man. I'm here for you.
It's okay. So frustrating with this team this year, Mike. Jesus.
Hey, I know the feeling. It's okay. It's okay. This is Bullpen Bulletin Therapy here on IE Sports Radio, where we share our feelings about our baseball teams live on the air. If you want to share your feelings, please jump in the chat. But yeah, so other games, we got the Reds now beating the Mets 12-0, and it looks like that one is going final as we speak. So that game will be over here in just a second. Cubs still beating the Rockies 2-1. That one midway through the 7th. The Twins are beating the Rangers 4-2. That one in the bottom of the 8th. The Tigers beating the Astros 6-3. That one in the top of the 6th. And two of our West Coast games have kicked off. We've got the Angels and Diamondbacks tied at 1. That one in the middle of the 2nd. And we've got the Pirates Athletics still scoreless there. In the top of the 2nd, the Rays and Dodgers should be starting here any moment. And yes, that Reds-Mets game did go final there. 12-0, quite a win and a much needed win for the Reds at that. Now we are going to jump down on the farm where we take a look at some minor league news for the week. So Freddie B, go ahead and take it away, sir, with who you are highlighting in the minor leagues.
This week, I've got to highlight another kid right down that street here in Lake Elsinore, Ryan Weidman, center fielder. I mean, this guy's already, having a fantastic season right now. He's batting .327 over his last 10 games, .390 average, .479, and a .659. That's over his last 10 games. He's hitting the ball fantastic. He plays a great defensive center field, too. Of all the guys I've seen on the Storm this year, he's the most talented in my opinion, and is probably the closest to getting the next call up to high A or even higher than that this season here. Another awesome stat: he had a walk-off homer yesterday, which won the game for the Storm. But he leads in stolen bases. He has 42 stolen bases right now in 54 attempts. For the season.
My goodness.
Yeah. In 60 games played, he's got 42 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 12 times, but the guy's got wheels. And if he can get on base, he presents a havoc for opposing teams. So Ryan Weidman is the guy that I've, I'm highlighting this week here for the Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, those are insane numbers. Yeah, and you got to think a guy like that is going to get the call to the next level sooner rather than later with the way he has been playing. My minor league spotlight features two very highly rated prospects who are starting to heat up here in the month of June. One is Max Clark, top prospect for the Tigers, number 7 overall.
Yep.
According to MLB Pipeline, he is starting to find his rhythm there in AAA. He's gone 6 for 13 over the past 3 games, which is great numbers. And look, the Tigers need help, right? They're near the bottom of the league. Admittedly, they're doing well against Houston, but they need all of the help they can get. And if Clark can continue to find his rhythm, he might be one of those guys that comes up and does just that and helps, change the game there for the Tigers. So Clark doing well in AAA. And then another top prospect, same division, amazingly, Walker Jenkins, top prospect for the Twins, 11 overall, according to MLB Pipeline. He had 4 hits in his first game of his rehab assignment, coming back from injury. So, 2 very highly rated prospects. Jenkins coming back from injury. If he can get back in his rhythm, the Twins, another team that does need some help as well. So, ideally these guys can get back in their rhythm and help their teams maybe make a push there in the final stretch of the season.
One more guy I want to mention, and this is an awesome stat. As less than 21 years of age, Lazaro Montes of the Arkansas Travelers of AA for the Seattle Mariners. It's his 3rd straight season with 20 home runs. already at his age. He's got 20 here through 61 games this season. He had 32 combined last year. This guy can really, hit the ball around the yard. So that could be a guy ranked number 27 overall in the prospect pool. So this could be a guy that Seattle could possibly be calling up later in the season. So look out for Lazaro Montez to be called up by the Mariners at some point this season.
Yeah, and hey, look, the Mariners have already called up Colt Emerson as reinforcements for their offense. So, yeah, if you're in the position to make, that push, then absolutely. Yeah, man, 21 years and 21 for the entire season as well. He's not going to be 22 again until October. That is absolutely tremendous power, like you said, eclipsing 20 home runs for the third time there in the last 3 years. Absolutely incredible.
I want to throw out a shout out to as well. Blaze Jordan gets called up, hits a nuke. I mean,
yes.
God, finally, this kid, we've got somebody that can be, overtake Judge as possibly the best home run hitter in baseball. I can't wait to see what this kid can do. We've seen what he did at the showcases, hitting 500-foot bombs at the age of 13 and what he did in high school. And man, he hit his first one the other day at Progressive Field. That thing went deep. So, keep an eye on Blaze Jordan and see how he does with the Cardinals.
Absolutely. Yeah, the name that every baseball fan knows, and every now and then everybody wonders what happened to Blaze Jordan.
Yeah,
where did that kid end up? And he's still out there. He's still out there hitting nukes. So good for him. And one of the ones you hope that there's some success there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now, kind of a little bit of a curveball, because for the last couple of weeks, this has led our show has been the college sports. However, we wanted to change it up because college baseball World Series is going on, but we're kind of in the middle of it, or like kind of in the early stages of the final round. So, not a ton has happened. We do have our first two eliminations, and the Bullpen Bulletin jinx is working overtime, as I picked Alabama to be one of our two finalists there. And they are the second team eliminated, falling earlier today to Texas and getting knocked out. Now, my other team, UNC, looking good there. So, we might be good there. But yeah, so far the early results here, we have West Virginia beat Troy in their first matchup, and North Carolina beat Ole Miss. So that sent Troy and Ole Miss to the elimination bracket, where Troy actually came out on top. So Ole Miss was actually the first team eliminated of the final 8. But hey, fantastic run by them to make it here. So, there's no shame in that knockout. And then West Virginia and North Carolina faced off yesterday, North Carolina with the victory. So West Virginia and Troy will play in that elimination bracket. They did not do the switch like we saw in the women's bracket. Currently, it is slated for Troy and West Virginia to be in that. Although I'm sure Georgia wouldn't mind getting flipped and getting the shot to play one of those teams with a chance to keep going. And then the bottom half of the bracket, Oklahoma beat Alabama to kick it off. And then Georgia beat Texas, forcing an elimination bracket of Alabama and Texas, which it sounds shocking until you realize, wait, this is the final 8. Yeah, you're going to have elimination games like this with two of the top teams in the conference. And Texas did finish off Alabama earlier today. And then Oklahoma pulled off what you would consider the upset over Georgia earlier tonight as well. So Georgia and Texas will be battling it out the elimination there. So that's going to be an incredible game. Both of the next round of double elimination games happen tomorrow. So after tomorrow, we will have 2 more teams gone, and we will be at our final 4, which those games will play on Wednesday. And then if necessary, the final elimination games will be on Thursday, before the final series will be over the weekend. So, Freddie, what are your thoughts on this recent slate of games we've had here.
Man, to kick things off, that West Virginia Troy game was fantastic. West Virginia picking up their first ever College World Series victory. And this was a team that I think we both talked about. Like this bracket right here with Troy, West Virginia, and North Carolina, and then even Ole Miss. We thought this was the tougher region, I think. And North Carolina obviously being the better of the teams. They've got, they're in the winners bracket right now, looking pretty. Want to see what happened, with Troy and West Virginia. Unfortunately, one of their Cinderella seasons comes to an end tomorrow. And down at the bottom half, shocked that Alabama, they got blown out, being outscored 23-2 in the two games that they played.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Oklahoma beating Georgia today. That was huge. Oklahoma came in averaging about 8 runs a game throughout the entire playoffs up to this point. And they come in and they beat Georgia, who's the highest seeded team remaining.
Right.
4-3, held on to win that one. They got the early lead and held on. So that sets up a matchup between Georgia and Texas, like you said. Didn't expect either one of these two teams to be in an elimination, game this early, but one of them is going to be gone. And then you've got Oklahoma, looking pretty. Their offense, if they can keep rolling, we can see Oklahoma making it out and into the World Series final, which is crazy. Today in that Texas game, I mean, that was just an awesome display for Texas, scoring 14 runs.
Right.
Adrian Gonzalez of Texas became the third player in NCAA College World Series history to hit for the cycle. And then his fifth hit, he ropes one down the line, could have stretched it to another triple, but held up for a double. Also had 7 RBIs today. So that dude with a monster game, again, only becoming the third, guy to hit for the cycle in College World Series playoff.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And then Anthony Pack of the Rangers not the Rangers. Sorry, wrong level of baseball. I need to step it down a couple of the Longhorns, going 3 for 5 with 4 RBI. He has 56 RBI. I believe that is on the season. It'd be very impressive if it was just in the College World Series.
God, you imagine?
Yeah, so and a fantastic performance for him as well. Yeah, this Longhorns lineup is loaded top to bottom. Their number 4 hitter is their catcher Carson Tinney, and he has a 327 average and a 486 on base percentage. That's got to be rough for a pitcher. You get all the way down to the bottom and you're like, phew, okay, I made it through. What in the world? This guy's got a 50%, gets on base 50% of the time. Get out of here.
I know. You know what? North Carolina looks good right now. Their pitching is holding up, beating Ole Miss 6-2 and then West Virginia 5-2.
Yeah.
I think that there's a good chance that they're going to move on. Now, I thought them and Georgia was going to be the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgia's going to have to win 3 straight elimination games to get to the championship series. I mean, they got to beat Texas tomorrow, and then you got to beat Oklahoma twice.
Yeah.
Tough challenge at stake for the Bulldogs. I want to see, what they've been there all season long. Both of those teams have that. Give us that College World Series final. I think that's what we want to see as fans too. If Georgia can pull it off, and we're in for a doozy.
Absolutely in for a doozy. And by the way, if there is any team in these final 6 now that could win 3 straight, it would be Georgia. Georgia could absolutely rattle off all these next 3 games and take it home. Now we are moving on to our Around the Diamond topic. Now this week, Around the Diamond is going to be a little bit interesting, different. Normally we just talk about whatever's really on our mind, but this week I'm putting, we're having an actual discussion topic here. So we are at about the 72 game mark. Some teams have played 73, some have played 71, some are at 70, but we're right around the 72 game mark of the season. And so far, there are 6 teams who have yet to win their 30th game of the season, which is not a good place to be in. So we're going to go team by team, and Freddie B, you and I are going to discuss whether this team is down and out, they're done for the season, or if we think that there's a glimmer of hope that they might battle back. And starting it off, we're going to probably start off with the easiest one on the list, the Colorado Rockies, currently sitting at 27-45. They are in last place in the National League West, 18 games behind the LA Dodgers, and for a wild card, currently sitting 10.5 back from the third spot. Are they out, or do they have a glimmer of hope?
The only glimmer of hope they have is that the Angels possibly beat them out for the worst record in this for this season. I think, the Rockies have no chance. Now's the time to develop the youth and, make lives miserable for the other teams that you're playing against. That's what you really got to do. You got to take it one game at a time. You're not going to leapfrog and pick up 16 or 18 games on the Dodgers. They're only 10.5 out of the wild card. So if they went on like a huge run and close out the month of June, like 15-5 or something like that, then we could possibly see, them making some ground. But no, the Rockies, we thought they were going to be the worst team in the league, and they're holding their end of the bargain up.
Yeah, no, for sure. They are absolutely doing their job on that front, if you want to call it. By the way, their ERA for the season, 0.73, higher than the next closest teams. They're at 5.64. The next worst is the Astros at 4.91. That's just the plague of pitching continues to be there. And, the ballpark they're in as well does not help. But, man, you'd think at some point they find a pitcher that could semi-pitch, those.
You know what? Conditions. If there's any glimmer of hope, it was in yesterday's game when they scored, 23 runs against, or 22 runs, whatever it was. So maybe they get those bats going and start doing something and get a little streak going.
Yep. And what does that say, by the way? They won that game by 14, and that moved their run differential to -90.
Yeah.
What a leap up. Next, we'll just go ahead. We'll go ahead and knock out the two National League teams here, kind of back to back, and their division mates, the San Francisco Giants, currently sitting at 29-43. They are 8.5 back in the wild card and 16 games behind the Dodgers in the division.
Mike, what were your thoughts on the Giants?
It's the curse of Rafael Devers. Clearly, they've been one of the worst teams in baseball since that trade. And I try not to be, I'm not superstitious in any part of my life, except when it comes to sports. And the superstition is very real that there's the curse of the Bambino for the Red Sox, and now there's the curse of Rafael Devers for the Giants. So I think as long as Devers is on that team, they are donezo.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you might even see guys like Robbie Ray and maybe even Logan Webb being dealt.
Yeah, which by the way would just seal their fate, obviously. There's no coming back.
Adam Hauser, another one. He's having a terrible season. He's 2-6 right now. They were expecting him, to do what he did in Milwaukee, and he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, there's a certain East Coast team that I know that I don't think would mind having a Logan Webb. I'm just throwing that part out there. They also wear orange. Just saying, he wouldn't have to change colors. It would be a perfect little transition over there.
God,
look at throwing that out there.
Look at the ERAs of the Giants starters right now. Loop is at a 4.24, Robbie Ray a 4.40, Logan Webb a 3.46, a 6.04 for Tyler Mahle, and Adam Hauser at a 5.50 or a 5.5.
And by the way, that 3.46 for Webb, that is inclusive of that horrendous first game against the Yankees, and then the one right before he got hurt against the Padres. So, that's inclusive of two awful starts for him. He's actually been on fire lately. So, like I said, he could, just transition to a slightly different shade of orange. It's fine. It would be good. Nobody would have to know. Now moving over to the American League, and few more options here to deal with, but we're going to start with one that really intriguing thoughts on this one. The Boston Red Sox sitting at 29-40. They played the fewest games of anybody on this list, so I guess technically they have the most potential to come back, sitting 5 games back in a wild card spot, which is absolutely ridiculous, and 13.5 back of the Yankees in the division.
They've only played 69 games, but they are the worst offense at only scoring 278 runs up to this point. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Red Sox. They made the coaching change. They've got some other issues. I don't see them. It's too tough right now, especially with the way that the Yankees and the Rays are playing. And I think the Blue Jays are still, kind of in the mix. Baltimore, maybe not anymore. I don't know with them, but I don't see anything out of Boston.
Yeah. The only reason why I give them a glimmer of hope, and I have two of these teams I'm giving the slightest glimmer of hope to, is because, they only have that -4 run differential. They just need to find a little bit more offense, just a little bit more, and they can start rattling off some wins. And it's in an American League where, realistically, 83 to 84 wins could get you that third wild card. I think in terms of the division, they're basically out of it because, they'd have to leapfrog both the Yankees and the Rays to get there.
Right.
So I don't see that happening. But I think when it comes to the wild card, being such an easy target in the American League this year, I think there's a glimmer of hope if they can just find a source of offense from somewhere.
Possibly because they may have the best setup of starting pitching of all of those teams with, Ranger Suarez and Peyton Tolley. We've seen, what he's capable of. He's got a 2.70, or all their guys have got good ERAs. Brian Bello being the worst out of all of them with an ERA of over 6. But then you got Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray, still a reliable arm. He's 8-1 this season. Nobody's even talking about, the kind of season Sonny's Gray is having, just an ERA slightly over 3. So maybe, to your point, Boston, if they can get the bats going, they do have the pitching that can help out. So maybe, okay, I don't believe so, but I do agree with you that they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving down the list here, the Detroit Tigers next on this list. The reason why I don't give them that glimmer of hope is because I am a firm believer that with where they are right now, they are going to deal Tariq Skubal at the deadline. Because they are going to get a king's ransom for him, and that's going to seal their fate. So, whereas I don't think, the Red Sox necessarily are going to be dealing away at the deadline, I do think Detroit makes that move. But what are your thoughts on them, Freddie?
I kind of agree with you. I think Skubal's just waiting to be dealt, but I think the biggest question too is his health. He needs to be healthy in order for them to get that king's ransom that you're saying. They're still going to get a good payload out of it. But, yeah, I thought this was going to be the same Tigers team that we saw last year. Remember, last year they had that huge lead and then blew it the last 3 weeks of the season. And when Cleveland came up and ended up taking the division from them, that was nuts. And that has just kind of continued this year. They just haven't found their game.
Yeah, you look at it, Framber Valdez has not been quite what they were hoping
not
for.
At all.
They shelled out, what was it, 38 mil a year for him, has not been the number 2 that they needed. Jack Flaherty's been atrocious in that starting rotation. I know he's only in there due to injury, because, some of their other guys have been out. Just the Justin Verlander experiment came and went appropriately fast. Now they are getting some good play out of Keter Montero. I'll give Keter credit. And then Casey Mize, who unfortunately has gone down with injury as well. he was pitching well for them before, missing a few games here. So 15-day injured list for him. So they do still have some interesting young guys, but yeah, and by the way, it was when Skubal went down that they took this massive downturn to where they are. So
Skubal's not the one swinging the bat either, though. I mean, they've got guys that aren't hitting the ball. I mean, Dylan Dingler, you talk about him, he's leading the offense right now with 16 homers and 50 RBIs. Next is Riley Green, who I thought could be maybe, potential, MVP kind of a candidate if he, did what he did last year. A lot of disappointment. Kevin McGonigal started the season outstanding, and he's, just kind of going through the motions. Gleyber Torres is a guy I think they've got to get rid of. I mean, I don't know, hitting 4 homers, 18 RBIs, and hitting 280. Winsel Perez, that guy brings nothing to the table offensively.
No, and you look at some of these numbers. I mean, you can, Zach McKinstry, who was supposed to be one of those guys, 530 OPS.
They really have a weak lineup.
Torkelson, only with a 718 OPS. Just not. You're right. The offense is not giving them what they need. And I also, aside from maybe if Max Clark comes up, but even he's not like an all-world impact bat. Like he's not a guy who's going to come up in the lineup and suddenly the lineup is scoring 10 runs every night.
No, he's like a Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah, exactly. But he'll probably be an upgrade over Matt Vierling in center.
Sure.
But, that'll be about it. Next up on the list, team you mentioned earlier, the Los Angeles Angels. I think we know your thoughts, but go ahead and repeat it for the crowd just in case.
You know what? If there's any team that can just pull something out of their butts, it might be the Angels. I just don't see it. I don't even know who's in the lineup every night. I don't know with them. Only 6.5 out of the wild card. Yeah, they're so far down. No, Angels don't have a chance. I hope Artie Moreno sells the team. They're going to be getting 8,000 fans a game here shortly, especially when we reach temperatures in the 90s and 100 degrees here in Southern California. Nobody's going to be spending money to go watch this crappy team play.
Yep, absolutely. And Jose Soriano and probably also Reed Detmers probably on new teams here coming up in about a month and a half.
Yep.
I don't think this team, and even in a lackluster National League West, I still don't think they've got what's needed to make this comeback. And the final team here, actually the second worst record on this list after tonight's game against Washington, the Kansas City Royals. Now, they're the second worst on this list. I actually give them a glimmer of hope. And the reason why I give them my second glimmer of hope is because, well, Bobby Witt Jr., that guy's otherworldly. So, if you can rally around him, you might be able to get some momentum. There are two keys. One, the pitching has to get back to where it was. The pitching has been, very underwhelming so far for them this year. Again, another byproduct of injuries. Their rotation guys need to get back into it. And also their bullpen. I don't know what the heck happened to their bullpen. Only 2 guys with at least 20 innings have an ERA below 4 in the bullpen. So they need to figure out whatever the heck is going on there. And then the second thing they need to do, they need to accept their fate with Salvador Perez. All-time legend in Kansas City, will probably get his number retired by the team. Great career overall. Don't want to take anything away from him, but he is actively hurting the team right now with a -1 WAR, a 570 OPS. Yes, he has 9 home runs, but that's in 67 games. Either move him to the bench or move him to full-time platoon with Carter Jensen. Only one of those bats needs to be in this lineup because Carter Jensen isn't exactly, raking it either. So,
I don't. The Royals are a disappointment to me. I had high expectations for them. They were an exciting team. What could Bobby Witt carry this team going forward? With Jack Caglione and Vinny Pasquantino, they've got the guys that they were trying to build this team around, but I think they're the only team in the league right now that doesn't have a player with 10 home runs. Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt are both tied with 9.
Yep.
And Bobby Witt is the only player on this team with a batting average over 280. So they can't hit the ball with power, and they can't hit for average. I mean, you have a whole team, average batting average is what, like 240?
242. Yep.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. But of all of the 6 teams, and I don't have to give them a glimmer of hope. I realize I can just give the glimmer of hope for the Red Sox, but I don't know. I mean, the Royals are a team, they battle, they fight, and you look at the numbers, they're disappointing. But they do have the talent, I think, to maybe turn around. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe my faith is just completely misplaced, but it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I don't see. And you look at the divisions too. Boston's 13.5 out of first in the East. Kansas City 10.5 out of the Central. The Angels
7 back,
7.5. They may have the best chance. I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna change my pick from the Red Sox possibility wise, just on the pitching, but the other 3 teams, no, they're done.
Fair enough. Well, that will do it for tonight's show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Larry B, Ricky, Brian, and Dontarius for jumping in the chat. Actually, no, Davidson. I keep messing that name up. I apologize, Davidson. Don't hate me, Davidson. Host of our Fast Break show here, which of course the NBA just wrapped up as well. So man, we're about to be the prime show here on IE Sports Radio for a couple of months here without not quite football yet. Hockey's done, basketball's gone. Of course, Set Point's going to be going the whole time, and then our soccer show is going to be going heavy with the World Cup going on right now, so that's pretty great. But as we enter the dog days of summer, baseball seems to take over. So Freddie, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, another great week. The College World Series has been exciting. We'll see. We'll have hopefully the championship decided to see who will be playing in the championship series by the time we go on next Monday. And I'm curious to see how the Brewers and Braves series go. I'm looking forward to that one.
It's going to be a great series. That's going to be a great series. Will Mizorowski allow a run? Yeah, to be determined. We'll find out. Well, once again, if you're a fan of the show, please follow us on X. Yours truly at IESR_DMV and Freddie at FreddieB_sports.
Yeah. And
we are looking forward to a great week of baseball ahead. And we will be back next Monday to discuss it here on the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.